Good morning, Run Talks. Jay here. Pretty good weather here in the UK today. So today I want to talk to you about where are the blind spots in your leadership. Now, yesterday I had a very, what you might describe as humbling experience. Now, you know when somebody points out that you might have some kind of perceived flaw, or somebody says that the way that you see the world is inaccurate, or someone just shines a light on something that you may have not have noticed that you're doing in your behavior. See, the truth is, everybody around you can see what you do, but you can't necessarily see what you do, right? This will all make sense in just a second. So yesterday I was on the phone with my new business coach. I hired a new business coach yesterday. And on the kind of sales call that we were going through, he was asking me questions about how much I'd want to spend on coaching. That's a normal question for this type of call. And I gave him my figure. And one of the things he turned around to me and said was, well, Jay, you know, you talk about a doctor needs a doctor, a coach needs a coach. Well, if you're thinking about getting to a certain level of income, how much are you paying for a coach? What are the prices you're charging? I told him what I was charging for my coaching. He turned around and said, well, if you're looking to spend this amount, can you see that's the same amount that you're charging your existing clients and what you're really comfortable with, what you're really happy with? I'm like, yeah, okay. He says, so if you want to charge higher prices, then it makes sense that you need to be paying more for coaching as well, because then your belief level is going to increase in that sum of money, because if you're willing to pay it, then other people are willing to pay it, and you'll attract those types of clients that are willing to pay that. I'm like, is this the sales technique, or is this something that I've heard probably 10 times before, but never really taken it, never really learned it because I haven't actually applied it? And I realized that what he'd done is he pointed out a blind spot in my perspective. Another thing, he turned around to me and he said, Jay, you talked to me about wanting accountability. Now, what's the reason you want accountability? And I said, I'm a fairly motivated guy, but one of the things I realized is it's easy for me, if I'm not careful, to either lose focus or to not necessarily follow through consistently over a longer period of time. And he's like, oh, okay. He says, so if you're a cow, morning, Lynn. He said, if you're a cow and you're standing there still stubborn, and you know there's food over there where you want to get your food over there, the goal that you might want for yourself, and you require a cattle prod to get you to move because the food is not enough. He said, what's going to happen when I sting you with the cattle prod? I'm like, well, I'm going to move a little bit. He's like, how far are you going to move? I'm like, far enough away that you can't reach me anymore. He's like, sure. And is that going to take you straight to the food? I'm like, probably not. If the food isn't enough, then I'm not going to do it. So what are you going to rely on again? You're going to rely on me coming up with my cattle prod and cattle prodding. Now, I don't condone this in any way for all of those who are into animals and animal lover. It's just a great example. So he says that if you apply that to your behavior in your business, if you're telling me that you need accountability to consistently stay focused over time and follow through consistently, then what you're actually saying is you constantly need someone there to actually stick you with pain or a cattle prod to help you achieve your goals. So what if there was another way? What if there was a way where instead of needing the cattle prod, the food in itself was the very thing that pulled you towards it, and you did not procrastinate, or you did not follow through, or you did not need pain to actually move you towards your target? I'm like, blind spot. Another one. Think about this. Now, this may not be easy for your ego to accept, but what are the things that you know? Out of 100% total, what are the things you know as an overall percentage? Like, so for example, I know how to do a Facebook Live. I know how to do a video. I know about these topics. I know this is a park I'm sat in. I know that's a bush, that's a bin, that's a tree. I know what I know. So what percentage overall, out of all the information available, would you say that you know? And you can take a guess for me in the comments if this lands quick enough. Just put it in the comments. What percentage overall would you say that you know? Put that in the comments. Now, I don't know how to speak Swahili. And I know I don't know how to speak Swahili. I also know that I don't know how to speak French. So, what percentage of all the things in the world do I know that I don't know? So let's just assume that in the first answer you put something like, okay, maybe less than 1% of all the knowledge in the world I know. Then what are the things I know I don't know? Well, I might say another 1%. So now I know what I know, and I know what I don't know, which makes up for about 2%. So 98% of my life is a blur. I don't know everything. And that is one of two things. That makes you feel insecure or uncertain, or that is actually humbling, depending on your mindset and your approach to life. See, we all have blind spots. And the reason for this, I talked about on Monday, is we have a confirmation bias. You have beliefs about the world, you have beliefs about yourself, and what happens is you look for the evidence to reinforce that in your external environment. And it confirms your beliefs so that you can be right, so that you can be certain. Now, if you were to admit that you don't know what you don't know, the 98%, and you felt like you needed all the knowledge in the world to be certain, that would create a lot of uncertainty. So it makes sense that you've got a lopsided perspective as you approach your life. Now, that's not bad. That's every human being on the planet. But think about what happens when we realize that as human beings, we have limitations. Let's take a child as an example. So when you were young, you didn't know any different. You're just this emotional mess from 0 to 6, 7 years of age, just this emotional mess. And you're curious, and you want to experiment, and you want to feel and touch things. It's called felt sense. It's the way you perceive the world through often touch and your senses in this respect. And what happens is you climb up on the sofa or on the park, somewhere here, and you jump off, and you fall and you bang your head. And mum or dad says to you, or whoever is taking care of you says, don't do that, you'll hurt yourself, be careful. But what do? You jump off again and you bang your head. Now, the second time you do it, you might cry. The first time you do it, might cry. But now you've realized what your limitation is. And what this teaches you is humility. Humility. And having humility is your ability to admit that you do not have everything figured out. You do not. I'm telling you, you do not have everything figured out. As right as you think you might be, or as intelligent as you think you might be, you do not have everything figured out. You don't. You don't know everything. And that's okay. And once we come to this place of being humble, of learning to admit that we make mistakes, that we have a problem, that we don't have the perfect life as what is portrayed on social media, we're in a position to change. Because as Bessel van der Kolk said, the biggest source of suffering is the lies that we tell ourselves. And as long as you're buying your excuses, your reasons, your justifications, all that crap that your ego wants to use to justify and apply logic to the rationale to the reason why you do things, that is always going to be the thing that's going to limit you. And the reason we do not like to admit that we are flawed, the reason we do not like to admit that we do not have everything figured out, there's a number of reasons. One, it makes us vulnerable. makes us vulnerable. 2, it can make us look bad. And we all have this inherent need to belong. We don't want to look bad. We want to fit in. We want to belong to part of a group in some respect. You're like, no, I don't want to fit in, Jay. I want to challenge the norm. I want to go against the grain. Okay, but you still want a feeling of belonging. You're part of a family, right? You're probably part of some kind of community, maybe a community of rebels. We still have all this inherent belief that we want to belong. And the third reason why people really struggle to admit to themselves that I'm not perfect, I do not have everything figured out. I'm not just talking about you, I'm talking about me too. Is because what would it mean to admit that you're not perfect? That you don't have everything figured out? What if you had to admit that results you're creating in your business like right now, business in your life right now, are the results you create? You create. See, it's easy to blame other people. It's easy to think that it's something external to you. Because then you don't have to look in the mirror. Then you don't have to really admit to yourself that the burden lands with you. The responsibility for the results in your life lands with you. And if you're blaming other people, that's not on you. But if you're being responsible, it's on you. And that's a heavy burden to carry, which we all get to carry, by the way, in our life. Because in life, in business, we create the results. We get to create the results that we really want for ourselves. So the first step in any level of transformation, of creating change, creating something new, a new result, whether it be in your life, in your business, really starts with having the humility to be able to admit you're not perfect, you have limitations, and we all of us have blind spots. And this is the very reason you hire a coach or a mentor or somebody, not your partner, by the way, because they'll just say, I've been telling you this for years, what you're discovering about yourself now. Somebody who can be objective, somebody who can shine a light on your blind spots, because guess what? Darkness cannot exist in the light. And when you bring it to the surface, when you own it, when you bring it to the light, you can transform it. And that's why I'm so passionate about my leadership program, my influential leadership project. So, until tomorrow, I hope you have an amazing, amazing day. And just remember, just show up. See you later, guys.